Welcome to Horror Movies with TNA. Each episode, we're going to pick a film, talk about it, and rate it. Word of warning, there will be spoilers. This week, we're talking about Intruder, a Scott Spiegel film, 1989. You go out shopping to your local store, but little do you know what happens there after hours. This film exposes the grim reality. Something from the deli counter, anyone?
Go on, let's dive into it.
Right, 1989, Intruder, Scott Spiegel film. What do we know about Scott Spiegel?
Is it made to Sam Raimi and Joel and Ethan Cohen and Francis Dormand?
And this film is very Raimi, isn't it? Intruder, aka Nerve Endings, Blood Night, Night Crew, The Final Checkout.
Yes, the Night Crew was... I like that we gave me the nod there. Night Crew. Look, let's become clean. The sound was crap on an earlier one, so we're having another go. Only for the first part. This is all going to be so sweet and fresh. Night Crew is the original short film that Scott Spiegel did before this. I also read, actually, he made the film with like all offcuts of bits of film because he couldn't afford the full reels. I mean, I don't know whether I believe that.
Well,
but it's feasible. I mean, it's a way of making a film. Maybe I should have done that.
I thought that Scott Spiegel had done quite a lot of movies, but he hasn't really done that much, has he?
He's written quite a few or helped Sam.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he helped Sam Raimi do Darkman, which is a personal favourite of mine.
Yes. Okay. Let's get into it.
Well, I'll just ignore the Darkman.
Well, no, I like the film as well. But Elizabeth Cox as Jennifer. She was in Night of the Creeps and the Wraith.
Night of the Creeps!
Renee Estevez is in it, part of the Estevez clan, as Linda. She was in Sleepaway Camp 2 and Single White Female.
I've not seen any of the Sleepaway Camp films.
Sleepaway Camp 2 is the second in the Sleepaway Camp franchise.
I'd work that out.
Danix as Bill, who I think we both agree is probably the best thing in the film.
By far, he's carrying the entire cast on his back.
Yes.
With a sandwich.
Apart from Mr. Campbell.
Actually, yeah, he's the second best actor in the film. He's got a top billing on some DVD covers, you know.
I can understand why, a big name like that. David Burns as Craig. He was in...
David Byrne of Talking Heads.
Yeah, exactly. As Craig.
Same as ever was.
You may find yourself in Witchcraft Part 7 and 9.
No, I don't think he did.
All right, okay. Sam Raimi as Randy. Feeling a little bit Randy. Yeah, Eugene Glazer as Danny. That's the boss man. He was in Scanner Cop 2, and I'm going to get you, sucker. Bill Marty as Dave, Burr Steers as Bub. And apparently he was in Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction.
Do you know why he was in Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction? Because Lawrence Bender, who was also the other police officer at the end with Bruce Campbell, was a producer on those.
Yes, and like I said, and Ted Raimi as Produce Joe.
Produce Joe.
Full moon. We start with a full moon. The credits go on for quite a while, don't we? And they've got the full moon. Then the green intruder writing comes, and then it pans down to the Malbert Lake Market. And straight away, we have a lot of these shots that are kind of very Raimi-esque.
Sort of. I think where Sam Raimi would sort of move the camera a bit more, he generally, Scott, is putting a camera in something.
Yes. So straight away, we start with this view from within a trolley.
Yeah, shopping cart, trolley.
Like a cage view looking out as it trundles down an aisle. And then the tannoy announces that the store's about to shut and everybody needs to get out. Jen and Linda are on the checkout, chatting about boys and stuff. And who rocks up but Craig, Jen's ex, who's a bad boy.
He's got a leather jacket.
He has got a leather jacket.
And a bit of a 5 o'clock shadow.
Yes.
5 o'clock shadow. I'm not even sure what am I trying to do?
They have a lover's tiff
Well, I mean, essentially, he's shouting at her because she's not returned any of his calls. And he also complains to her that he's injured his hand when he was writing
Wanking.
loads of his stalky letters. He even complains that he injured his hand writing to her.
Is that what he calls him?
Stalky letters. In this film as well, there's a lot of product placement of products you don't. There's a lot of product placement of stuff you're not probably that interested in. Although I did notice there was Battle Beasts, which I thought was good. I don't know what it is.
There was a lot of cereal product placement, but I don't think they've got a lot of money from it, to be quite honest.
No. And there's a lot of meat. There's a lot of meat. Yes. Basically, Jennifer's telling Craig it's over and he doesn't seem to be listening.
He's a cool guy, though, so we're a shopping cart. Cool guy with a leather jacket in a shopping cart.
Yes, he gets quite violent at one point. The fight. What did you think about the fight?
Well, I've written down lots of grappling. There's not a lot of throwing of punches or pushing people to the ground. There's just a lot of grabbing.
They do kind of take it in turns to exchange punches at one point, don't they?
It's not Jackie Chan, is it? It's shit, is what I'm trying to say. It's terrible. Sam Raimi's walking down the aisle and he goes, "What the hell's going on?" But not as good acting as I just did there.
Yeah.
He just goes, "What the hell?" He's got a cup of coffee or something and he gets involved in the fight by getting pushed into some cereal or something. And it's the awfulest pratfall. He really can't act.
That's a theme that plays throughout the film. There's the odd bit of comedic thing that they don't quite pull off, but
yeah, there's nothing. I've got absolutely nothing against Sam Raimi, and in his films, when him or his brothers or anyone else acts a bit like the Three Stooges, kind of works. In this, it literally falls flat. Draft.
So in the prevailing kind of tussle fight, Craig runs off. He's kind of gone missing somewhere in the store. So we have various scenes then where the staff are searching the store for Craig. And we kind of continue to be introduced to the characters a little bit more. And we've got Produce Joe and we've got Randy, who's in charge of meats. I like a bit where, I can't remember what he's called, so I'm going to have a look. And you'll have to bear with me because my pages are all upside down.
Why are your pages upside down?
Oh, because I started writing the wrong way up.
I guess that bit. Oh, right. Whatever. While all this is going off, Jennifer keeps getting lots of calls from Craig.
Oh, Craig.
To the supermarket. I mean, would you really phone the supermarket to stalk your ex-girlfriend?
Stalker, check out 5, please.
If you're desperate to get back with her, I suppose you go to any length.
Any length?
You do go to any length. Yeah, I didn't want to say that. You do go to any length. They even check up in the attic, and Bill says there's nothing up there but a whole lot of darkness. That's, believe it or not, that's a bit I liked, the way he said that. Just up yours. Yes.
Yeah, it's called Up Yours.
I can't see anything up there but a whole... Oh, no, he says, I can't see anything up here but a whole bunch of darkness. What do you think about that? Craig makes a mistake of going back.
I thought he froze then.
No. So Craig's missing in the store. The night crew can't find him.
Yeah, I know.
So they have a meeting. The police are on the way. Danny, the boss man, and Bill, who's the co-owner, pick now to announce that the store's being sold. What about that then? Not great timing, really. Then there's a bit of a shot, which I quite like, where it keeps showing, I think it's Jennifer and Linda talking, and the Craig is outside the store looking through the window, and it keeps swapping to showing Craig, and then there's a magazine of Sting's face next to it. So do you want to...
Yes. Right. There's a swing camera to the left to a Sting on the cover of a magazine. As in a horror film, it's called a Sting, where it suddenly goes to make you scared.
Yeah.
And it suddenly swings to Sting yelling on a magazine cover with war paint on.
Yeah. I quite like that.
I was all right with the first time, but they do it again.
It wasn't quite as effective the second time, was it? Yeah. Dave and Jennifer start chatting as well a bit. There's a relationship evolving between them two. I suppose it's worth mentioning about the soundtrack. It's got this dirgy, Dire Straits like imitation music playing throughout, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's crap. I put music crap, and it's mainly stock music, which I know Romero used a lot, but he used quite good stock music. Where here they've used dirge.
The scene where a bit of a love interest scene between Dave and Jennifer, when he's comforting her, sounds like Dire Straits' Romeo and Juliet, but like a really close copy to it.
Well, they might have replaced that on the one I've got, but I didn't notice it.
Well, Produce Joe on his headphones is also listening to what sounds like a really bad imitation of Dire Straits' Walk of Life as well. It does sound a lot like it.
Well, I'd not noticed. Again, either they swapped it out. I mean, it just sounded like dirge.
Power to Mark Knopfler.
Those bits really liked, and now camera in lots of different places by Scott Speak. We've had the camera in the shopping cart. Then there's a bit where she gets a phone call.
Camera from within the phone.
Yes, and you can see the old school dial.
Yeah, it's got a wheel dial.
Points it where they're having a very boring conversation, but he points it up at the mirror that's reflecting down on the fruit. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, that's when they're talking about the blender, isn't it?
And one of the best bits, the doorknob rotation.
Yes, the turning of the camera.
Yeah, so it's like the camera's in the doorknob as he's rotating it to the right. The bucket, I don't know why. It's just in a bucket at one point. And another really good bit later on behind, well, it's behind a bottle to conceal someone's face, and then later on to kind of distort it.
There's the one where it sweeps across the camera. I don't know if she's mopping. Yes.
No, literally underneath the floor. I apologise for not being more specific. You've asked.
It's worth mentioning those. There's a few different unusual shots which I think are quite interesting in it. So Craig is still hiding in the stores somewhere. We then switch to the staff room. Is one of my favourite scenes purely for the fact that we get
the story.
We get Bill regaling them with his firefighter story, which basically goes like this. You ready?
Oh, you've written it verbatim?
Yes. Here comes fucking Parker walking down 9 Mile, swinging the head by the hair in one hand and his hamburger in the other, and he's still eating it. Needless to say, everyone just lost their cookies. And that's the best bit in the film.
This is one bit. Even when we saw the incredibly cut version of this, I think we said this bit was the best bit. And I think I said at the time that I said, I'm sure I've watched Raising Arizona, and the bloke says the same story in it, almost exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, so obviously that little bit of a monologue they've sort of shared.
Yes.
Which is fair enough because it's a good monologue. There's a bit of interest for you. Oh.
That scene in the staff room serves no other purpose other than him to tell that, and the staff continue to moan about the fact the store's being sold, and Bill keeps telling them, I didn't really want to sell it. I'm 49% shareholder of the store as opposed to Danny, who's 51%. It was not his choice. Meanwhile, Craig's still hiding in the store somewhere. How much does Jennifer's nose keep bleeding as well?
How does that happen? Did she get bashed?
When she has that tussle where Craig slaps, they have that fight near the beginning.
Yeah, they make a bit out of it, don't they?
Because it comes back later on, yeah.
Yeah, but they could have done it a different way, but there you go.
Craig continues to hang around outside the shop, and then Bill catches him, and Bill gets a hammer around his head and knocks him out. And then we're actually, you look concerned, is there something wrong? And then, is that loud?
Well, yes, that is. But I don't know why it just goes quiet. It just goes a bit quiet. You may have to play around with this one a bit.
Oh, baby. All right.
So yeah, Bill's got boffed on the bonds
by Craig with a hammer. So we've had a lot of this build up around Craig and just developing the characters, well, introducing the characters. So the next significant scene, I suppose, is Danny in the office. And the one thing I'm going to say is, I'm going to warn you now, we always warn everybody, there is going to be spoilers.
But if you ever saw the video cover in the 80s when this came out, it pretty much showed it.
Yes, it kind of shows you who the killer is anyway.
So don't go on the internet at all to look at any images, otherwise you'll find out immediately.
Well done. If you've managed to avoid knowing who the killer is by now, well done. You've done very good, because it's blatantly obvious because it shows on the front cover and everything. But anyway, the killer attacks Danny, strangles him, and basically impales him on a desktop paper spike. I think that's what you call it.
It was a big deal made of it earlier on for some unknown reason, and then you realise.
Yes.
He keeps putting bits of paper receipts
Yeah,
on there.
it kind of shows it from the angle of the spike. Paper's being pushed on.
Yeah, behind a green bottle that he's drinking as well, which is quite good because obviously still trying to conceal the killer. I mean, they don't keep that up for much longer.
No, there's a lot of shadows, convenient shadows, to kind of hide the identity of the killer. Danny gets strangled, and then he gets pushed onto this desk spike. Wasn't quite Fulci flesh eaters, but it was okay.
It was a plastic head. I mean, at first you think you're not going to see anything, and then you do see a little glimpse.
They have blood dripping onto the kind of light bulb, so it turns the room a bit red.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, on my copy I've got, which I think is a German uncut version, it's not the greatest version. It kind of makes a crackling noise as well as his blood is hitting this light bulbs. It's going.
Okay. And as well, when people are like looking through the keyhole or under the door, it doesn't really play on it much. They could have probably used it more than they did, but anyway, it turns the room red anyway.
I mean, it isn't the first kill though, is it?
Oh, sorry, I forgot about Linda, haven't I?
I can guess why you did, because it's kind of off screen, because she gets a big hatchet, but then it cuts to a melon being cut in half, so you don't actually see her getting killed.
Oh, yes. It switches to somebody cutting into a melon, doesn't it? Yeah. So, yeah, sorry, actually. So Linda goes out into the car park, and it really just cuts away and doesn't really show anything, does it? And now we're into Murdersville, because it kind of kicks off then, doesn't it? It shows a few scenes again of the night crew working, and it has a scene where Randy, Sam, sticks his hand in an olive jar and there's an eyeball in there. So there's suggestions of things are starting to happen.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense unless it's the eye of the guy that got his eye on the spike. I mean,
well, throughout there's people just working, doing their normal job, and then there's little things like hands cling film wrapped, and there's like people stepping on stuff that are like eyeballs that they don't realize. So it's just got things in the background that don't really play a major part, but it's just stuff.
Right. So I've got chronologically what happens next is, so who's the guy that's watching?
So it's hang on. Right. So Tim's watching them, and it's Dave and Jennifer.
All right. So the bit where Tim, the great actor that he is, putting the cereal away, but he takes a glimpse of Jennifer and what's the other guy's name again? Sorry, Dave. And now having a little bit of a kiss, because Dave's been nice to Jennifer and protected her against Craig as being a bit of a stalky twat.
Yeah.
So there you have a bit of a kiss, and then so he's watching through the cereal packets. He's making a bit of a weird face, I thought. So I had to draw it, and I'll show you there. And it also I've gone, ooh, ooh, ooh. He's kind of going, ooh, 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 ooh. And it does look like he's knocking one out.
Yeah, I thought he looked like he was, while he was watching,
having a way.
He was suspiciously looked like he was playing with him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Obviously, the director, get excited.
Yeah, look excited like you're spying on someone, so you're being a mischievous imp. No, don't wang.
So, but he doesn't do that, unfortunately, so it's not all good. So, yeah, that was unusual. So I give that a little picture.
43 minutes in there, so almost halfway through the film, Produce Joe is chopping whilst he's listening to his Walkman, and we have the scene where the knife keeps being raised as he's chopping, and then the final knife rises and it comes through the back of Produce Joe's head. So you've had this scene where he's chopping and it keeps following the knife up.
Yeah.
And the final one is of the killer bringing the knife down on the back of Joe's
On his
head.
body. And he's got that old school headphones, so the one with the metal frame that used to go above your head.
Again, it's a neat little touch because as the knife comes down and chops on top of his head.
Anyway, so that's quite, and it splits that and they both fall out.
Produce Joe. I've got a song.
Oh, go on.
Produce Joe. Where you going with that knife in your head? What do you think about that? It's like Hey Joe.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's like Hey Joe.
I've rated that. By the way, I've rated all the killings
Oh, great.
different ways. Should I do it at the end?
Yeah, do that at the end. There's a lot of signs displayed around the supermarket, and when he gets the knife through his head, it quickly switches to a sign saying, "Knives are sharp, please be careful."
Hilarious.
The next bit is we've got the killing of Tim.
Oh, the beer.
Yes, he eventually goes to a door and he turns, and a knife stabs him in the stomach, and it kind of bursts loads of beer cans or cans that are behind him, which is okay. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's one of the less interesting deaths in it, but
Yeah, he's trying to do more. They're more interesting, and they're not over the top interesting, because a lot of slashers nowadays have to do something incredible.
yeah, elaborate. Whereas this is a bit simple, but it's just got a little something to make it a bit different.
A little bit of je ne sais quoi.
Bob working with the compactor, the press, he gets dragged under that, and his head goes pop.
Yes, this is quite good, I thought. One, because that guy screams like no one's business. I was going to say screams like a girl. He screams a lot higher pitch than a girl for a lot longer.
Yes.
Properly giving it some.
Yes. He took his moment well, didn't he? I mean, he played it well.
Yeah, and the head squash, I think, is quite good because you could just put the whole head in.
Well, it kind of was the same position where the in the Murder in a Minute. Yes, yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, it's quite good.
Then 50 minutes in, Randy in the back room. I mean, Sam's death's a bit.
Sam's not really done out other than there's a scare that's meant to happen. He's going up to a door and a step ladder falls on him and he goes, "Oh God, oh." And then he tries to push it away and goes, "Oh, yeah, it's step ladder." Scott should have said, "You know, you need to look at this because you're a bit shit, mate."
Have a look back at this. Randy gets hung off a meat hook anyway.
But it was sort of escalating in good, elaborate deaths, and then he just kind of gets his face put on a meat hook. It's not very good, that bit, let's be all honest. I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did.
All right, okay.
Well, I don't know.
Then we've got Dave. So Dave, who's kind of Jennifer's love interest as well. So actually, Dave's the first one that discovers, after all this, unbelievably, we're about almost an hour in, he's the first one that actually discovers that something's not quite right, because I think he finds Danny, the boss man, with his one eye. So he knows that murder's happening. And then he looks for he can see out through the hatch out across the supermarket, and he can see that Craig is approaching Jennifer. So he's kind of shouting and banging on the window to warn Jennifer, but then he gets hit around the head with a cleaver and gets dragged off. And I suppose this is the most famous death in the film. Dave basically gets dragged onto a kind of meat bandsaw contraption. I don't know what
I was going to say very absurd.
Yes.
Very similar way to absurd, but this is far superior.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of. Although in my head, I had a memory of this being far better.
Yeah, I'm not sure it aged that well.
He sort of gets a bandsaw, sort of puts his face on the bandsaw, doesn't he? And it comes through his cheek, through his teeth bit, which you think, oh, that's...
Yeah, that's the bit
that
comes keen, doesn't it? Yeah.
But then again, if you're going to bandsaw someone, you think, well, that's actually probably the best place because there's less to bandsaw. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's why the scene probably works quite well, because if they were cutting the top of his head off or cutting his head off completely, it'd be okay. But the fact it's going straight through the middle makes it a little bit better.
And again, not my great picture.
For me, it tells the whole story, doesn't it?
Great, that.
As far as I know, Frank Sidebottom wasn't in the film.
He got a big face. It's very accurate. Anyway, the only trouble is, when you first see the bandsaw go in, it's not very bloody. you've flown through all the deaths.
No, I mean, we've had 40 minutes of kind of build-up, and then they quickly dispatch most of the night crew.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing... So we have remaining Bill, Jennifer, and Craig are the final people remaining. Everybody's gone. I mean, it's worth mentioning throughout the film suggests it's definitely him that's the killer. He's the angry ex-lover.
He's an absolute arsehole. I mean, he could make up for it later on, which he's meant to do, but he's a git.
Oh, well, he's a nasty piece of work, isn't he? He went to prison because he killed somebody. So he's not a good person, is he? But,
No.
So he's definitely the prime suspect, isn't he?
Yes.
We have some scenes now of Jennifer slowly searching the store, and she's discovering all the different people.
Bit Halloweenish again.
Yeah, so it kind of dawns on her that something's not right. Finally.
Yeah, there's a head split down of the one she was snogging earlier on.
And Randy, Dave, and Randy swings into view, and it's kind of her realization then that all the bodies, and she screams and screams and screams.
Yeah, because no one else is actually saying anything other than...
That's when the chasing and hiding begins, and about an hour in.
Yes, and then, to be honest, this bit is where it gets properly, I'm going to say, good.
Yes.
Because even the kills, it's a bit weird how it works. It's not interspersed with kills. It goes nothing, then suddenly lots and lots and lots of kills.
It's almost kind of 10, 15 minutes of all the kills crammed in, and then there's a bit of tenseness in the final half an hour. I mean, for some reason, though, some of the bodies, they've been killed more than they were killed originally. Like, for instance, Tim originally got stabbed, and then when she discovers the body, he's actually been chopped in two because there's a sign pinned to him saying half off. It's a bit weird because they've actually been not killed the same way as they were originally killed. But let's not get too worked up about it. Yeah. She discovers Bub, who's been crushed, but we kind of know that. Then Produce Joe.
Produce Joe, where you going with that? Knife in your head.
Comes down. He comes down. The food travelator.
Yeah, because at first the idea is, I didn't mind this bit because she goes, "Oh, what is Produce Joe? Right, are you going down the escalator with that knife in your head?" Anyway, he's going down it, and then she goes, "Oh," and then as he starts to go back up again, it literally falls to pieces.
Produce Joe. Your body's...
Where's all your bits gone?
You've
been chopped into tiny pieces, mate.
She finds Dave's head in the fridge with the beers.
Yeah. Well, you do, don't you?
So Jennifer, armed with a meat hook, Craig turns up and surprises her, so she batters in.
Well, she gets him in the net with her meat hook, and then he falls into a shopping cart, doesn't he?
Yes.
So he's out for the count for a bit.
And then an hour and 6 minutes in, Bill rocks up. So Jennifer thinks she's been saved, really. Hooray! Bill rocks up. Then...
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise. Jen realises that Bill's the psycho.
Yeah.
Well, Jen's hysterical, and then she thinks she's been saved because Bill rocks up. So she hugs Bill. And then she has this realisation then that I think Bill's covered in blood. So she spots the blood, and Bill realises that she's spotted the blood.
Don't worry. So she's twatted Craig. He's out for the count. Bill goes, let me phone. Then she got blood on herself from Bill.
Yeah, and I quite like this because there's a realisation, and then she runs off, and they have this quite good shot where she's running away.
This is excellent.
Yeah, with Bill jumping the checkouts.
Yeah, he's jumping from one conveyor checkout to the other, whatever they call it.
Yeah, so then we kind of have this whole chase now between Jennifer and Bill. But halfway through that, I asked the question.
Oh, no, you're not going to show me a picture, are you?
What I did was I did a bit of a diagram.
I mean, that looks like the scrawlings of a madman in shit.
Yes. I wrote down some notes about why did Bill do it. He explains, because obviously Jennifer, he's rambling, the rantings of a madman, and she's kind of asking the question. She's asking the same question. Why did you do it, Bill? And he's kind of saying one thing. Here we go. The store's his life. He does say that the store's his life. He obviously doesn't want to sell.
Are you going to say the bit where he goes, well, it's quite good, I thought.
Well, Danny, he also said Danny was always calling the shots. So I think he feels a bit inferior with Danny because he was the major shareholder, 51% to 49. He's a psycho, so there's another reason he got.
But his main reason is,
He says he got a bit carried away.
yeah,
And he says I'm crazy about this store.
that bit as well. Again, like the video cover, the trailers
Yeah.
show that bit. Well, what's the fucking point? You might as well. But yeah, he just goes, I'm crazy about this stuff. Danny Hicks is ace in this film, and he sells that line. If anyone else said it, you just go, for God's sake. But he sells all the stuff he says. He should have been in more films. So that I just think he sold it, and that the trouble is they just went, we'll cut this trailer however we want, and we'll put his face on because no one gives a shit.
The final point I made was ultimately the night crew were casualties of Bill's mental war. I thought that was quite deep. Ultimately, they paid the price. They paid the price. And at Mabbott's Lake Market, the prices are rock bottom.
Did someone get the bottom cut off? The ass cut off. You still there? Hello? Your wife working?
Bill grabs for Jen, closing in for the final kill, and there's a satisfyingly underwhelming thud as she hits him round the head with a plastic bottle. And then when it drops on the floor, it smashes.
I thought on my copy again that maybe the sound had gone a bit weird because there wasn't even a thud. It just made no noise.
It was kind of like a dull, very dull thud. So this is the bit where the bleeding nose comes back because she hides behind there's water on the floor, and because Jennifer's nose has been bleeding throughout, she hides behind a kind of display, and the blood drips.
Yeah, she sort of conceals herself within a display, so sort of pulls it towards her.
Yeah, so all the while Bill is trying to search around the store for her. She's hid behind this display, and her nose has bled into this pool of water on the floor and kind of flowed out underneath the display. And that's where Bill spots it.
Yeah, and he's looking around for her, and he's looking through these distorted bottles at her for a long time. And I wasn't bothered about that. They were obviously over-egging how good the shot was because he was kind of like moving his head around and it was distorting his face, which is, they obviously thought it was that good. They put it on the video cover for a lot of them.
Yes, yeah. So once again, Jen runs out and Bill gives chase again. So she escapes. There's another little touch where as Bill's running, he spots some of the displays have fallen and he can't help but restack some of the shelves.
Yeah, he puts them back on. Yeah, that's not too bad, I suppose.
Oh, and then there's a scene where outside a delivery guy arrives, and through the door, Jen's trying to shout for help, and I don't think the delivery guy can't see through the glass, and then he gets killed by Bill, and as he slides down the glass, it kind of leaves
with all blood on the
it smears the glass, the window, the door with blood. You can see Bill's face behind it, kind of red and.
Yeah, and I think that was on the back of the video.
Yeah, it's quite a good shot.
Do you know who that delivery driver was?
No.
That's Scott.
Oh, was that Scott?
But I'm pretty sure that's Scott Spiegel. That's why he acts so fucking terribly. When he gets bashed in the head, he goes like that.
Well, he dies all right, doesn't he?
Well, yeah, it's no Sam Raimi. Can't believe I'm slagging off Sam. I'm slagging off Sam Raimi's acting, by the way, everyone, not his directing skills. If you're a fan of his acting, we disagree. But if you're a fan of his directing, we agree.
Jennifer hears a call for help. Help me, somebody help me, from behind some shelves. She goes to investigate, and it's Bill carrying Danny's severed head, pretending to be Danny. Help me. I like that.
Even if the dubbing is a bit bad, because they obviously have dubbed in Danny's actual voice for some unknown reason. The next bit is the funniest bit and the best bit as well.
This is when Bill tells his heartwarming anecdote again and he says,
He substitutes the hamburger for a sandwich
Yeah.
this time.
yes, he's got a sandwich in one hand and Danny's severed head in the other, and he says, here comes fucking Parker walking down 9 miles, swinging a goddamn head by the hair in one hand and the sandwich in the other.
I mean, the drawing here, you obviously get no freaking time for. I don't know what. I mean, were you asleep? Were you sleep drawing at this point?
Bill, what's he up to? So Bill's out of control. So Jennifer is scared. Bill starts to, oh, right. So now suddenly Craig turns up to save the day. Craig turns up. Bill starts to beat Craig to death with Danny's head, which I love.
Brilliant. This is, yeah, like I say, I think everyone will agree that I've not seen it before or since. I don't think, anyway. I've seen with full bodies where they get beaten up, but not just the head, where they start bashing them with a dead person's head. And also, because he's such a bad actor, not Danny, but obviously the other guy, you feel that he probably is getting beaten up by this big, quite heavy plastic head.
Yes. At that point, whilst Bill is beating Craig to death with Danny's head,
He's giving him some head. No.
Jennifer manages to escape. She does find, I think she opens a car door and she finds dead Linda.
How does she get out the door? She gets out the window.
Yeah, she climbs out the window. I think the killer originally went intruder window, didn't he? Didn't he? She went out through the window.
Anyway,
Yeah.
intruder. Here, like your bum down.
So Jennifer manages to run and escape through a window. She runs to the nearest car, opens it, and she discovers Linda's body. Yeah, then Bill grabs Jennifer from underneath the car and tries to drag her underneath the car.
Oh, yeah. I mean, none of this makes sense. I mean, Bill's absolutely legged it, managed to go underneath a car to grab her legs and drag her underneath it.
Yes.
It's all very elaborate. And then Jennifer's
grabbed the knife. So Jennifer grabs that.
And you see he's slowly dragging on the car.
Yeah, she's taking the knife out of Linda.
And what does she say to Bill at this point when I've not written it down?
She says something like,
fuck you.
Yeah, take that motherfucker, or something like that. Or I wish she said, give that to fucking Parker on 9 Mile. No, right, that's...
Here comes Parker on 9 Mile, swinging a goddamn bat.
Yeah, Jennifer grabs a knife, plunges it into Bill's chest as he falls back. Oh, and this is the bit that I thought was very Sam Raimi again. As the knife that's plunged into his chest, as he falls back, the knife flies up in the air and lands in the background in a box, I think. Like, so there's Bill in the foreground and the knife lands in the background.
Yeah, because I think the idea is he'd gone through him. So when he fell back, it hit the ground and shot up. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I just thought it was just a bit in the background that happened, and I quite liked it. Jennifer calls the cops from a payphone. Bill turns up again with a cleaver and starts attacking her. Then Craig arrives and hacks Bill to death with the same cleaver.
The bit in the phone box, actually, it goes on for like 2 or 3 minutes where she's phoning up and that, and I knew something was going to happen. But when it happens, you can see it scares the actress as well. So it scared me when he punched through.
Yeah. So Jen's ringing the cops. Bill turns up with the cleaver and tries to kill her. The phone box tips over as well, actually. Yeah.
And you're going to say the bit, and I tried to draw it, but it's awful. I could show you.
Is it good?
Oh, man.
Is it ever? Oh, yes. And he gets the cleaver through the hand.
And that's bit out of all the effects. That's the bit that makes you go, ooh, no.
Yeah, so Craig is hacking away. He hacks through Bill's hand.
Puts his hand up, doesn't he?
And it's kind of like a defensive thing as well, isn't it? So it's not nice. Then the cops arrive at last. don't they?
So Craig's holding a bloody hatchet with a dead body in the telephone box. Jennifer's covered in blood as well. And then police turn up. So generally they get blamed for all the killings. And then, what's his name? Bill.
Yeah. And with Bill's last dying breath, he confirms it was them that did it all.
And he starts laughing as well, which you think the police might have noticed. He goes,
Yeah,
what
what
are you laughing
at?
I mean, what are you laughing at? The end shot is awful, unfortunately, where it's Jennifer obviously realizing she's going to get blamed for everything, which she won't, but let's say she does, standing up, and the camera zooms in really badly into her mouth while she's screaming.
Oh, yeah, Jen screams.
Yeah, yeah. The end bit goes on a bit long. They could have just done it really quick, where he'd have just turned around and woke up and gone, it's their fault. Good night. Right, anyway, come on then. So I'm going to rate the murders.
Give us the rating of the murders, yeah, because they come thick and fast. Have you got it ranked?
Keep countdown. Number 6.
Well, the worst one is the first murder with Linda.
Yeah.
It's all off screen.
Melancholy Linda.
Melancholy Linda.
In at 5.
I would actually say it is the next one as well. I think the spike in the eye.
Danny the boss man. Yeah, okay.
Number 4.
Meet Up. Sam Raimi, Meet Up. Terrible.
Number 3.
It's got to be the knife in the stomach next. Through the beers.
Through the cans, yeah. Quite like it.
Number 2.
Then it's a bandsaw. The bandsaw, when it first goes through, they're obviously trying to show the effect, but there's no blood at all.
Number 1.
And then the best one, head squish. Yeah, because it did it really quick, and I forgot about how good it was.
It's kind of halfway across the head, isn't it? So, yeah.
Yeah, pops it. So it's sort of quite grim in a way. And that's the top 10. Look out for next week's Food.
Keep countdown. Keep countdown. Keep countdown. Keep countdown.
The only criticism I'd have is with a top 10, there has to be fucking 10.
What?
Let's review the film. Mark it out of 10. Not get to the point. Let's review the film.
Give me a mark for the film then.
6. There you go, straight in. Not bothering.
6. Okay.
I'm going to say 6, and it not in a horrible way. It wasn't quite as good as I remember it. Yeah, I remember it was.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's a bad film. I think I thought it was gorier and a bit more fast paced, and it was neither of those two things. But it's not. It's not crap. It's not and it's not so bad. It's good film. It's sort of trouble is it was a bit average, and then the murders all happened. You went, oh, this is good, but it wasn't enough to make me want to watch it. And the dialogue was atrocious. That really dragged it down.
Yeah, it did.
Unfortunately. So 6 is. I think 6 is fair. I could have marked it a lot lower.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it's okay. I think that's what I was trying to say with 6.
Okay. I think it's okay. It would have been a very, very run-of-the-mill slasher film, but there's little bits that have been added to kind of each death and to certain scenes that just elevate it above that. I think I'd probably give it, I thought around 6.5, maybe 7, because I quite liked it. I still quite like the meat bandsaw scene and the compressor. I thought they were still reasonably good. I still liked Dan Hicks in it a lot. But as we've already said, he kind of carries it. It's enjoyable. Yeah, it wasn't quite as good as I remember it. 6.5. I'll stick with 6.5. I think that's a fair mark because I liked it, and I'll go back to it once in a while. But that's it.
Okay. Right. Well, if you disagree, obviously say, but otherwise get fucked. But
yes,
whatever.
We welcome any feedback, positive or inevitably negative. Yeah, we appreciate it. Thanks for listening anyway.
Thank you very much for your time. All right. Cheers, everyone. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye. Goodbye.